What's up, everyone? Welcome to Mike and Tom Show. We're here today with our friend Pariecee. We're going to be talking about a lot of cool stories. Pariecee was sharing some of them with us before we came on air. But thank you guys for being here. Tom, you want to tell them Covenant Coffee real quick? And
we want to thank one of our sponsors, which is Covenant Coffee. And if you haven't tried their coffee, if you're in Bakersfield, they have 2 locations. One across the street from us, one on North Chester. But the whole value is in Randy Martin's mission. He basically wants to flip the script, Hope in a Cup for emancipated foster kids. So if you go out, now you can buy K-Cups, you can buy the coffee online, ship anywhere in the world. But what you're actually giving money to is the training of the emancipated foster kids in a retail business, giving them retail skills, but giving them interpersonal skills. Randy also helps them out with places to live. And it just, there again, it's one of the things that, it's a group that doesn't fare well if they don't have help after they turn 18. So it's go out there, buy a Covenant Coffee, and then you can help the cause.
CovenantCoffee.org. Yeah,
it is.
So anyway, we recently met up with Pariecee. Runs a studio in Bakersfield, California.
Correct.
And
a sound studio.
Yeah, sound studio. And Pariecee is a good friend with another mutual friend of mine and Tom's, John Tweed. John helped you build the studio.
Absolutely.
And we all love John. John's son, actually, I don't know if you knew this, but he actually works here.
Yeah, that's what he told me. So
he's up doing some business today.
Right on.
So
that we'll be able to announce.
Yeah. But Pariecee, tell them a little bit about the studio. Let's start there.
Well, we spent about a year building this new studio. Summit Studios is what we're calling it right now. And we're just kind of building new clientele with the studio. Pulled a lot of my clientele from 777 Recording Studios, which John Tweed helped me build that place also up there, and was up there roughly 8 years. And before that, American Sound Recording Studios, spent some time there, kind of revamped that place a little bit. And prior to that, it was E Street Studios. So I've been in Bakersfield roughly, I'd say 16, 17 years, but really built a clientele up here. And had a lot of fun with a lot of people, made a lot of friends here. I want to say all my clients are my friends.
I love that.
And they're from all over Fresno, LA, people I've worked with for, 20, 30 plus years, still come record with me. And, so it's been a lot of fun working in the audio engineering world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an audio engineer. Pariecee Music Productions is really like, my
social media and all that. And we'll share those links too for you guys.
Absolutely. And just it's been such a experience starting, in the beginning, going from tape to digital, 30 years as an audio engineering. It's just watching the industry grow and working with.
But you got a lot of really cool original analog equipment in there too, right?
Yeah, some of the OG stuff, Universal Audio 610s, LA2As, the original UA610s, LA2As. Oh man, just the original Focusrite stuff that Rupert Neve built. And so it's like the Focusrite 1s, 6s, 2s. You look them all up. They had a short run, and that was his run that he was going to build that was going to be better than Neve at the time. And it's really hard to find those. We just have really good manly equipment. It's a professional analog studio, multi-tracking recording studio.
But you got all the digital stuff too, right?
Yeah, so everything, eventually you go analog into digital.
Yeah.
At some point, everybody's going to be listening to digital on their,
Spotify or wherever, right?
Yeah. And that all gets converted down to, MP3s almost, lower grade, obviously. But it's just one of those things that, when you grow up analog, because a lot of kids today, they're all like doing everything on their laptop, and I started like on Studer 800 tape machines, 2-inch tape machines. And you're learning how to splice and cut tape, and scrub your marks and mark them. And you're like, actually take a razor blade and cut it and tape it with Scotch tape, believe it or not, on the backside.
Yeah.
So
and it worked.
And
that's where the industry came
exceptionally well.
Yeah, exceptionally well. And now I'd say I'm all analog. The studio is all analog. but the next step is to actually have a tape machine in there. And
Are you able to talk about that?
Yeah, I can talk
All
about
right, let's
that.
talk about it.
So Rick Davis, Jonathan Davis's father, has one of the original, what is it called, Otari MX80 tape machines, and he's having it serviced right now, and we're going to be getting that. I mean, Buck Owens recorded on that. A lot of famous people recorded on that.
That's cool.
And going to be bringing that in the studio. He's servicing it, getting it fixed up. And shout out Rick Davis, for all the guy's awesome. You guys got to have him on your show, man. He's
Hey, that'd be cool. We would do it.
Well,
bring him in. Bring him in.
Absolutely.
There again, I know Jonathan, and he talks so fondly of his dad and working in the music industry and just all that rich history from Bakersfield.
Absolutely.
This town is musically inclined.
Absolutely.
And you had so many
it's surprising people. I think it's kind of like underground. People that aren't in the music scene don't really know how much Bakersfield's involved in the music scene, right?
Growing. If you look at the music, there's on Facebook or Instagram, the music scene, they have like websites, the music scene in Bakersfield, they'll tell you everybody who's playing in this town. And it's growing so much. It's crazy. I mean, I think this, it's Nashville's so overwhelmed. I think the boom is going to start back in Bakersfield.
You were telling us, tell us how that happens. And I remember just recollecting what you were telling us over at Covenant Coffee's new location, that a lot of the young guys they can't get studio time there.
No, and it's tough. Even engineers, a lot of people have home studios now, and there's been quite a few friends of mine who I know who had studios down in Nashville that closed down. So it's just the big ones, really Ocean Way, Blackbird, and there's still quite a few, but it's the ones that have all the big names. So it's kind of like what happened in the record business. Is when everything became streaming, and nobody was selling CDs. It's kind of the same thing that happened in Nashville and LA, and really probably any music city in general. And ideally, it's like, you got to evolve with what's happening. And so Nashville, to me, I think it's fun to go there. It's fun to see everything. But there's people out in Nashville coming out and playing, at Roosters, Honky Tonk. There's a bar downtown called Roosters Honky Tonk, and all these Nashville guys, shout out Dave from Roosters Honky Tonk. Awesome.
Oh, I love
awesome
that
guy. And just seeing all those, country guys coming in town, and and I mean, I work with pretty, a lot of different artists, as long as they're positive, and I have to turn down a lot of stuff, because if I don't like what they're saying,
you like to read their music, right?
Yes, I like the
message.
I like the message. I like to get into it.
Well, because you're a Christian.
Yes, I'm a Christian audio engineer.
Yeah.
And just,
And that doesn't mean everyone you record with has to be a Christian.
No, I mean, like Babu Gulab is this Indian artist that
you were telling us
I've worked with, and he, their music, it's like phenomenal. It's music has been around for thousands of years, and they came in and brought all these wild instruments, and they got more notes in their scale than we do. And their songs are love songs, or stories, of romance and stuff like that. So it really is just, I'm just taking positivity and I get messages and emails. People send me stuff, and a lot of it, I have to review everything that comes in, because I don't, want anything that's going to tarnish or disrespect the studio in a sense, or me and how I feel about what I'm doing.
As you were talking about the young Nashville talent coming here, is that they're coming to you because there's a certain sound that Bakersfield has produced.
Sure.
And and you were telling us how, the guys in the old days, the Buck Owens, the Merle Haggards, how they were setting a standard now that in Nashville is called the Bakersfield sound. And you were talking about the importance of getting some of that old equipment back in to produce that.
Yeah, it's very, very fortunate to have the opportunity to get that Otari tape machine in here. I think once I put that out, I can start doing tape transfers. I'll be fully analog at that point, like dipping right into tape.
That's cool.
And if anybody knows about, tape, they'll know, like, everybody wants to record on it who's really in the music guru end, you know, and a lot of people are coming back to that world, you know. It's not just, you know, country music, it's rock, guys who play rock, or, you know, really any style wants to get back into the tape compression, tape harmonic frequencies. There's just something about it. If you listen to music from the 60s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, you know, up until the 80s, you know, 90s is really when digital started taking over with, ADAT, and then Pro Tools came along roughly, I want to say 91, 92. And I dipped into it. I started Pro Tools in 95. And just because I was already kind of a computer nerd, I had to like coax, you know, our studio to dip into that world, because everybody's, you know, wearing analog hats, and, you know, you got to fix something. You're not like reinstalling software. You got to know how to replace diodes, resistors, capacitors, and solder and, you know, read a diagram. So
tubes.
Yes, tubes. Also tubes. You know,
I came up in the day where you would take your television tubes to the grocery store, and they had a tester, and you put it in, to see if it was the problem at home. So I remember that'd be the first step, and then if it didn't work, you had right under them they have one that you would buy. So I went to school in the dinosaurs room.
So I have a question about music business in general, and I don't know if you can answer this or not. But I was thinking about this the other day, and I know I've heard a lot about this. So with the takeover of the streaming and everything else, like musicians have to make money a different way than they used to, right? Like it used to be all like CD sales and all this stuff. Now it's very different. Sure. How are they making money now?
Well, a lot of my artists, I mean, the local guys that I work with, not the guys that are already kind of doing their thing with record labels and producers. The local guys, there's a handful of them. I mean, they're actually still getting physical because they play gigs, right? So they get physical copies and they sell them at their shows. They're making their money back, because nowadays you can really have like a decent amount of CDs, say 100 CDs made for like $200, $300 with artwork and everything on it, some for $10 a pop. They're making their profit back, right?
That's like when I was in bodybuilding, I could buy an 8.5 tin glossy for 99 cents and sell it for $5.
Yeah.
Their profit margin's great.
Oh wow, yeah.
So they're still making money off of CD sales,
making physical at their shows and stuff, not like what they would do back in the day, you know, go to the store. So that's just like one means of making money, and they're gigging a lot, so they're making money. And then streaming wise, they're being creative about it. Like one of my artists, Michael Brandt, he's actually making money. He's using like one of those digital distribution companies. I probably should name drop on the companies and stuff unless we're getting money for it. But so he's using digital distribution, and every time he posts on like TikTok, his music's already uploaded.
Yeah.
And so when he posts something on TikTok, he tags his song on there. It's on there, and you know, if it's something funny and he's reacting to a song or something, he gets lots of views, and he's making like a decent amount of cash flow through TikTok, Instagram. It's mainly, I think, TikTok. I don't know how he's doing on Instagram and Facebook, but he's getting some views on TikTok. And a lot of my artists that way. I work with a lot of amazing talent. This town has unbelievable talent as far as singers, songwriters, studio musicians. I mean, some of the best studio players. I mean, I know studio players from here who went to Nashville, try to get, you know, dig in, and they're like, no, we're coming back to Bakersfield. Bakersfield's real, this place, because cool. I mean, you know, it's not the same, you know.
You know, tell us about, you know, and I think this is important because you get some high profile people coming in.
Yeah. So I had an opportunity. Well, Rick Reno Stevens, I'm sure a lot of people know who he is. A producer who brought in Johnny Rodriguez, which, I mean, I don't want to get it too incorrect, but he's one of the earlier like Mexican American country artists who came out back in, I mean, I'm not sure the year. I'm sure somebody knows exactly the year, but he was huge back in the day. Wrote some amazing songs. He wrote a lot of songs for a lot of big names, and did very well. If you look up Johnny Rodriguez, he's done well. I got to record his last album, and Johnny Rodriguez, how well known he was. He brought in Dennis Quaid, the actor, which Dennis Quaid himself is a phenomenal songwriter. Not only that, like, I mean, just
I would have never guessed that.
I
right?
would never guess that.
Yeah, and you know what? He plays shows and plays gigs and stuff like that. He wrote a song, and I think it's on the radio now. called Montana Hills, and it's kind of like this ghost story kind of a thing. The song that he wrote, it's just really good. And so it's him and it's Dennis Quaid and Johnny Rodriguez singing together on a duet. And then have one with Tanya Tucker that I recorded here in Bakersfield, and Johnny Rodriguez, and she sang some harmonies on a lot of the stuff too. Johnny Rodriguez's daughter, Aubrey Rodriguez, which shout out Aubrey Rodriguez, got to work with her too on a couple singles. And just, this town, I mean, back in my young years, I got to work with in the studio with a lot of bigger rock names back in the day. So like bands like, I'm sure everybody's heard like Alien Ant Farm, Papa Roach, I didn't necessarily, I got to be like a second engineer. I was a younger engineer in those days, and miking up and getting in the world of audio recording with some of the biggest rock bands out there. And, leaving LA to come to Bakersfield was it wasn't a hard choice, because that's the lion's den out there. If you're not
they'll eat you alive.
Yeah. So, it really is like a dog eat dog world in some ways, even for audio engineers and musicians alike too out there. It's just, it's rough for anybody. So coming to Bakersfield, I got to be somewhat of a bigger fish in a little pond, and just my experience. And now working in country music is a whole nother thing. Because, like my ego coming into Bakersfield, I thought, I know how to record anybody. I could and then, my first mix on a country album was like, no, that's not how country's supposed to sound, And
so is it different, mixing different styles?
It's a whole different thing, dude. You can't reinvent the wheel. That's the trick that I really learned from a lot of, like, Stephen Dorff, which is a composer from Nashville. Got to work with him. He's written songs for Garth Brooks and every big name, and probably in the 90s.
I've heard of his name.
Yeah,
before.
and his son is a famous actor too. And some of the things him and Rick Reno Stevens, when I was working with him in the studio, is like, don't reinvent the wheel. Let's listen to, use references to listen. And
what does that mean?
References meaning like, if there's something that's already good on the radio, you could put your taste and your style into it when you're mixing or editing or even producing, but listen to what they're doing. Like me, I'm going in like I'm gonna mix this like a rock album.
You can't do that.
You can't use big old kick and giant snare. No, you're not doing that in country music. Well, it depends. Maybe today's country, I don't know.
That's a bro country. Yeah,
bro country. But
is that a word?
Oh, it is. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
What is it?
Yeah.
Bro country is like all the new, like basically like Blake Shelton, Jason Aldean.
Yeah, and there's even newer stuff where it's very auto-tuning vocals. And,
the guys that aren't even really country.
Yeah, and
like
they
rap,
have
basically.
drum machine. I'm not knocking what people are doing out
That's
there.
all right.
You guys,
I did it for you.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like drum machines. It's not real. It's like, it's different now. It's not like real players in there.
Yeah, right.
Also, you're like bringing in electronic.
But it's kind of like the metal militia, like mafia, like backwards hat, big lifted trucks. Like,
he
knows what I'm talking about. You might not.
Yeah.
Danny definitely knows what I'm talking about.
My son-in-law.
Yeah. It's a whole.
No, he knows.
What is the biggest thing that has inspired you? Because you've been in it many years. Industries change, like you said. What was that thing that is like keeps you going? Is it the change in music, the challenge in the projects, or the people?
Well, really, it's the people. Like seeing, like
I like that.
I like to see, like, because I put my heart and soul into every project that I do, and it's really hard. Like, people are on budget sometimes, and it's like I'll go above and beyond and just take it to the next level and and give away time sometimes if I have to. And
because you got a passion for it.
For one, I got a passion for it. I want it to sound good. I obsess over a song.
Yeah.
And when and then the client goes, "Oh my gosh, I love this. It sounds so good." I could, because you're really competing with what's on the radio and what's good. And I try to please every client at 100%. I'm not just trying to be, getting things in and out of there. And I have like certain projects I want to work on to an extent. Of course, I can't be crazy picky because you got bills to pay and you got to make money. So you got to kind of, pick and choose your battles to an extent. If I could record everybody I want, I'd be great. I mean, if I go to Nashville and work right now, I mean, I could go, like I got job offers all the time in Nashville or LA. I could go and and just kill it out there, make
Yeah.
a ton of money. And but of course, then I'm not the quote unquote big fish in the little pond anymore. I mean, there's a ton of me out in Nashville and Bakersfield.
So
Or
as you're
LA.
talking, it's almost, I think if I'm out there looking in, you're almost an artist too.
Well,
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
how I started.
You basically, what you're doing is you're taking what they're playing and then you're actually putting your.
Well, the soundboard is his instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I started in music. I was a musician playing, and that's how I actually got into audio engineering.
Yeah.
I was in a band in the early days. I ran away from home when I was 17 years old.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I lived in my car working with a stage company for roughly about a year. I mean, I got to sleep on friends' couches and stuff like that. But so literally, I grew up with, I want to say, misfits and people who really were in the same place as me, where we had problems, when we were kids and family and stuff. And, my upbringing wasn't like the best upbringing where I didn't get to learn life. I learned life out on the road, on the streets, what to do, what not to do, on the job training.
On the job, OJT.
Yeah. So at some point, me and my friend out in LA, we got an apartment together and was like, I wasn't sleeping in my car no more. And we were playing in bands, and our drummer at the time, he was dating the daughter of the owner for Sound Sanctuary in LA at the time. And so we had to end to get into the recording, go record. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I thought I had this 4-track tape recorder. I thought I was doing great, and I go to that studio and I see all these gadgets and buttons and this tape, and just hear how it sounds and watching them work. I was like, how do I do this? How do I get, and they're like, we only take people from Berkeley, So
wow.
Yeah. So I'm hungry. I'm desperate. It's not like this anymore. I don't think. It's hard to see. But I would park my car in the morning at their I mean, it doesn't even say their name on their suite, right? I'll park my car in the morning and literally just sleep in my car and wait till somebody shows up. Maybe they might not have a session. There might be days that they didn't show up, and then I show up and say, hey, I'm ready to intern here, work. And eventually he felt sorry for me is what happened.
Give you a shot.
But you know what?
Shot,
we talked about this, Tom. He put in the 5%.
He did.
Yeah.
You were the 5% that put in the work that no one else is willing to do, and that's why you're successful.
We talk about people that are successful, and they are the ones that put in that. 5%.
I knew that story was in there somewhere.
Yeah. And you did it. You slept in your car. You were ready and said, whatever it takes, I want to do it. If you're out there, no matter what you're doing, it takes that 5% effort.
It does.
It does. Yeah. And it takes a different kind of a person to do it. Sometimes it's different for everybody. I don't knock anybody who hasn't grew up in a hard life. I got to be in the lion's den so I could relate to a lot of the people that have had hard times and tough times.
Well, you don't have to have grown up in a hard time to see that that's the effort that's required, right? But putting in that effort that only 5% of people will put in, that's when he says 5%.
Absolutely.
Only 5% of people will put in that extra effort to see the success in the thing they want to do.
So if I can ask another question, do you see, and we have a lot of guests, do you see this next generation of sound engineers willing to do that?
I think it's turning back analog in a sense, and how they want to work hard for it again. It's hard for me to find interns in this town that will do that kind of level, because I haven't never had anybody come
wait in their car,
waiting in their car,
saying, "Will you work with me?"
And they have the opportunities to, plenty of opportunity. But this isn't necessarily music town. But I'm sure there. I mean, LA. Last time I went out there, I got friends, Art and Resistance, a band that I work with and record out there. I went out and recorded them in a studio down in LA not too long ago when I was working in the studio, when I was building the studio. And there are some hungry people still out there in LA. I mean, the interns that I seen at that studio, and they offered me a job on the spot. I was like, man, these guys are begging for it. I'm like, just the experience. Yes, I got the experience. And, but they are hungry. I mean, there's still people out there hungry who's whether they were poor or not, or came up from whatever they want to do it, they're going to really put that extra, like what you said, the 5%,
Do you see, everybody's talking about AI. Do you see AI invading the sound engineering field?
I don't, I look at it quite a bit here and there, and some people want to touch base on it. I seen a couple things on the internet about it. I don't pay attention to that world so much because I'm so involved in analog, and I don't give it the attention I think that it wants, I guess. But people are dipping. You got there's all these young people, and that's the thing. It's like people could create whole songs with almost no talent at all. I hate to say it that way. And there's
plenty of them on the radio.
Yeah, right. So it's
that coffee's kicking in for mine.
It's different. It really is different. It's a different era, different time.
But you can't do analog with AI.
You cannot do analog with AI. They sure do try. They try to crunch the numbers.
Really?
They're doing, ones and zeros, and still just, there's just something you cannot mimic out of an old Trident board or old SSL console, every channel is different. It's like this, when I recorded Stone Shiver, shout out to Stone Shiver, phenomenal Christian band from Fresno I've worked with. I recorded their Christian album at a secret location in Bakersfield. I don't think I could talk about it too much, but
you tell us after.
Yeah, I'll tell you after. But they had a phenomenal SSL console in there. You know who I'm talking about. I know you do. The studio that I've
I think I do too.
Yeah. But I'm not sure the level of I could talk.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
But it's recording on that console. Every channel has its character. That's what's crazy. It's like they try to mimic that in software too. I have all the plugins that do it, and I drive myself nuts and crazy A/B and things and doing blind tests and it's like, and I did an experiment once doing it all digital with Stone Shiver back in the day, and then do it all analog, and I sent it to them and I said, which one do you guys like? And they love the analog still.
Yeah.
It just there.
So you say every channel is different. This is just a question that I have as you're saying this. Is it because of imperfections or is it intentional?
I think it's imperfections. But
the imperfections would make it great.
Absolutely. It's funny because it's like when you're running drums, through 16 channels on an SSL console, and you're doing 2 kicks on the first 2 and snare and just how it hits the transistors and the the op amps and it starts to burn a character into them and you switch them around to some, and it starts to give its own thing.
It's almost like, pardon the expression, but like the cast iron skillet, right?
Yes, and that's these old analog guys know. They goes, I like how my kick sounds or my snare sounds in channel 5. There's just something about channel 5 on that SSL console. Yeah. And these old man,
they come in and see it and go, oh.
They hear it.
Oh,
they hear it, and see, this day and age, we get to see the squiggles of audio, right? Back then, you had sound scopes if you did want to see something out of phase, but really everything was ears, and
that'll leave me out because I have bad hearing in my left ear.
Yeah, but you're talking about that SSL console. Probably a lot of people watching it are like, "What does that mean?"
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I'm a nerd.
But that's like a very high end.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and there's lots of API consoles,
right?
Neve you name it. There's so many good consoles, and they all have their own type of sound. Some people want the Neve sound, some people want the SSL sound. Somebody, I'm probably speaking gibberish right now.
So do they call you and go, "Do you have the Neve sound?"
Oh yeah, I do. I have the red.
No, I'm just saying, but they call for that
specifically. Asking
not really, but you know what? I explored that idea not too long ago. Is building. Obviously, my idea. I'm sure it's already done by now, but building where they send you their clean digital stems, and you can list your preamps, all your analog gear, and you could run it through it and send it back to them. Like, okay, you want the Neve sound? We're going to send it to you. If you want the API sound, we'll send it right back to you. Running through the stuff. And just put a flat line, and I thought that would be a good idea. I still haven't got I got too many things right now.
I know the feeling, man.
Well, there again, that's why you're a 5%er.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of projects that you're doing, and you got a lot of projects in here.
Yes.
Mike and I do that every day.
Every day.
We have to pull ourselves out of the cloud.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Take the last minute or two and just talk about what really the thing that makes you get excited about being at work?
I think first and foremost, it really is, it feels like home, I guess. The studio's been kind of my home for so many years. It feels
Therapy almost.
Yes, it's definitely a place where I feel comfort. I put, mostly it's like before you eat a meal, you want to pray before a meal and be grateful for the things that you have. And I try to do that even like before a session.
That's cool.
When Stone Shiver came in, it's like, we all sat down and they brought the Stone Shiver, just some of my favorite. I got to do a shout out. You guys got to check out Stone Shiver. These guys brought me all the albums in plaques with their CDs and everything.
Cool.
And they brought them in and surprised me with it. I mean, they brought me to tears in the studio. And they're from Fresno.
Do you have any pictures of that?
Yeah, I do have pictures.
Send me some, dude.
I'll send you some pictures.
Yeah.
And these guys brought it to me and they're like, man, we want just appreciation of all the years we've worked with you. Here's all the albums we've done with you. They made me feel so like loved and appreciated. And they know that I put 1,000% into their stuff, their songs.
It matters.
Yeah. So
if you're out there, it does matter. Hard work pays off, and it does matter.
So if someone's
got blessed for that.
If someone's watching this and they want to do some recording with you, how would they get in touch?
You could usually email me Pariecee, Pariecee @gmail.com, or find Pariecee Music Productions on Instagram. You really just Instagram, Facebook is out there too. Pariecee Music Productions.
Cool. And we're gonna have all that linked for all them as well. So. Awesome. Well, thanks for doing this.
The time just flew by.
Yeah,
I know it did.
We had fun. This was fun.
Such a great time.
We had fun.
Tom, or I'm sorry, Mike and Tom here.
Yeah,
I love it.
Awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching.
Hey, check us out. Subscribe.